and welcome back to the Opportunities Podcast. I'm your host for today's podcast, Victoria Clark, Head of Lending at the Network. In our series of getting to know more of the staff who make the network go round, today I'm delighted to be joined by our Mortgage Development Manager, Robyn James. Previously Robyn Truslove, as she just got married in the lovely Cyprus. So yeah, new name if you've seen her emails come through. Robyn joined the network in November as your Mortgage Development Manager and has already made a huge impact for our advisors. We've had some fantastic feedback on you, obviously, as well, as you know, which is so exciting. So your support and energy and ideas brought to the role. So we thought today's a really great chance to get to know her and get to know more about ways that she's helping. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Right. So for those of you who haven't met you yet, haven't had much of a chance, or they're new to the network, or haven't seen you at events yet, would you mind telling us a bit about yourself? Like, please tell us what brought you here as a mortgage development manager. What are your experience in financial services? Please share it all.
Yeah, so to be honest, I've only ever really known financial services. Went to college, didn't want to go to university, so I worked as a mortgage admin at a local IFA firm. Did my mortgage exams. I liked the idea of being an advisor, and then was employed for about 2-3 years, training mortgage advisor, which was really helpful. It helps grow your confidence, I think, at first being employed. And then took the plunge to go as a self-employed broker. So then I was at The Right Advice, which is obviously part of the Right Mortgage Network. So I was there for about 4 years as a self-employed broker. Really, really enjoyed it. Absolutely loved it. Loved the flexibility. Loved the people that I worked with. Obviously, it was a good opportunity to make, good money as well. And then, I think I just, I had family changes, personal circumstances change, and I just wanted a little bit more stability, but just more something that was still in the mortgage world and certainly still in the network. But I just wasn't quite sure what that looked like. And then, obviously the role for the mortgage development manager came up, and it was, I'd say, it was like perfect timing, perfect role, and it meant that I could still do what I enjoy and what I know, and in a network that I was already part of, and had already made friends with people there and knew the brokers, so it was the perfect transition, really.
Yeah, so it's like, obviously for Robyn as well, like being an advisor background, but also knowing the network, just like you could just get straight into it, doesn't it, really?
Literally, and it wasn't as daunting. It wasn't like I was starting somewhere new, and it was completely fresh. So that was definitely helpful with the transition. And I'm really glad that I had been an advisor, because I think to be able to do the role and speak to brokers, it really helps that I had that experience, and I can say that I've been in their shoes and sort of had the,
and that's already massively coming through.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
lovely. And then, so what was your impression of the network then when you were an advisor?
I would say it felt like one big family. I think when you go to our events, it's definitely like a family feel event. Like, you'll see brokers all speaking to each other, making friends. Like, it's always so loud because everyone's always talking, and it just felt really welcoming. And I think my first NT that I went to, obviously at the time I was only 20, and I think I was quite nervous. I think, like a young 20-year-old female, I was probably a little bit nervous at first, and I didn't know what to expect. And literally within 10 minutes of being there, Martin and Amanda had both come up to me, introduced themselves to me, spoken, asked me how I was getting on, which I thought was really nice, because it was, the directors, that they're not in an ivory tower where you can't speak to them, and it's like that just showed to me, like,
it's not about like who you are or anything. It's
and
just
I think
like
that really showed to me that it was a network where the staff will really get involved with the members, and it was just really nice. And then after that, I obviously went to road shows, and obviously all the NTs after that, and it was just always a really, really nice, friendly, welcoming environment, whether you were going on your own or going with 10 other people. It was just really nice, and everyone just gets on, all our members get on really well, which is just,
and that's
really
the thing
nice
as well, I
feeling.
think, for new advisors joining the network, like, you can come from a place of, like, you've done it on your own, like, once you start going, you feel you can get to know people really easily, so
and you recognise people, especially like the road shows, local to your area. You start to build those relationships with people. You see people, you recognise them, and sometimes it is just seeing that familiar face that's just that nice little comfort blanket.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you very much for getting to know you a bit more and where you've come from, what brought you here today. But you've been in this role now for several months. So what surprised you the most when developing in this role and getting to know the advisors and the network? Is there a particular story or examples that you could share with everybody?
I wouldn't say there's a particular story, but I think for me it was just more the receptiveness and willingness of our advisors. I think obviously when I started the role, you know, I wasn't naive to the fact that I don't have like 20, 30 years of experience that some of our brokers do have. You know, I am still fairly young, but I was, you know, and I didn't want it to feel like I was teaching, you know, telling advisors to suck eggs and stuff and tell them how to do their job. They know what they're doing. But I was actually really, really pleasantly surprised that everyone was always open to speak to me. The willingness to, you know, hear about what I'm planning to do, what I've done, what as a network, what we've got on, and also the feedback. You know, like people will be very open, and our brokers are actually very happy to share what works for them. They're happy for me to share it with other brokers if it's something that works. They're happy to admit if they've tried something and it hasn't worked. And it really helped me settle into my role because of how warm and friendly our advisors were, but just, you know, that they actually made me feel like, okay, the role is so important and I do actually make a difference, and just getting that nice feedback that just validates, you know, what I do. But yeah, and then just seeing, it really shocks me seeing how well all of our advisors work together. You know, there is obviously healthy competition, as there will be at every network, which is great. But our advisors do genuinely want to help each other. And, you know, it might be a firm principal that has got 15 advisors with them, and they might be having a conversation with a one-man band who's quite new to the industry. And
I think that's again like the family stuff, isn't it?
yeah,
like everybody can be together, work
and
together,
sharing their experiences. And I think that's so nice, because I don't know if you'd get that in every network. I think it, you know, in other places it might be like everyone's just out for themselves, whereas I genuinely don't feel like we have that with our advisors here, which is just a really nice and refreshing thing to say.
It's nice to be around. Obviously, you guys are doing a great job and being lovely people. That makes everything a lot easier. But so obviously, like I've said multiple times as well, since you've joined our leading team, like we've had so much feedback. It's so great to be able to have that extra resource to be able to help our advisors as well. But what do you think the advisors need the most at the moment, and what are the challenges they're facing? So what would you like to bring to help people into this next set of the year?
Yeah, I think one of the things obviously at the moment is the market. The market is very volatile, and I think it is tough for brokers. It's not an easy job. I think like it's one of those jobs that people just assume is easy, and then when you actually do it, you realise that it isn't an easy job. And I think one of the things that, to be honest, I've spoken about quite a lot recently is like AI, and just, you know, how much we're seeing AI grow, and especially with I'd say purchases.
Use it to your advantage. That's
yeah,
the thing, isn't
and I think like purchases is definitely slowed down. So it's meaning that, you know, people going back over the existing client bank, they're doing the remortgages, PTs. And I'd say one of the biggest struggles that I've certainly noticed since speaking to brokers is, you know, customers going direct to lenders, doing a remortgage, doing a PT direct, and thinking that, you know, they are going to be better off doing it that way, or because AI can help them do it. And I just don't think that is the case. I think, you know, even with a rate switch, if you go and do it direct, you know, you might secure a really good rate at the time, but your mortgage deal might not swap over for another 6 months. And it's like, you know, you're not, as a customer, you're not going to check the mortgage rates every day like your mortgage broker would. You know, you're not going to think to swap it. You know, life gets in the way. And I think that the biggest challenge is just probably the worry, or where people say to brokers, you know, AI is going to start doing your job. And I just don't think that is the case. I think it's certainly buying a house is a very emotional transaction, and AI does not have that emotion. You can certainly use it to your advantage. You know, it can definitely streamline processes. It can, you know, speed up processes. It's definitely useful. And I'd say most of us are probably using it in our, you know, everyday life and work life. But it's never going to replace brokers.
No.
It's never going to be able to
explain.
As well,
like us being younger people, like around first-time buyers and things like that, like not one person do I know wouldn't go through an advisor.
No.
It's an advisor who could let it be their perception more than actually the customers.
And especially first-time buyers, you know, handhold them through everything. And like, that's why I've tried to do, like, one of the things I've done recently is like a guide for first-time buyers and home movers that our brokers can use.
And that's on the advisor site, isn't it?
Yeah, that's on the advisor site. And it's just having resources like that our advisors can use, because yes, you can put it into AI, but how do you know it's correct? And also, it's just having that human interaction and having someone, especially with a complex case, you know, fight your corner and be able to explain to an underwriter why there was a mispayment 3 years ago on a mortgage because the customer's going through a divorce. You know, things like that AI wouldn't know, or that you wouldn't actually think to say, to sort of input into AI. So yeah, I'd say that's probably the biggest challenge. But I think for any broker, I think it's just important to remember that, you're not going anywhere. AI is not replacing brokers. We're always going to need mortgage brokers, insurance brokers, and I think just use it to your advantage, but don't get bogged down with
and we want to
worrying about
help
replace.
advisors with it. Like, we want to help everybody understand, be safe with AI, and just know how it can make the most of everything for you. But now you've got to really know our advisors and things like that. And so with all of that sort of thing in mind, what's coming up for the rest of the year? What have we got planned? So these are all the things obviously you've done to help advisors, what you've already identified, but what you're going to do next with the second half of your time being here this year?
So I mean, I can't believe it's like the first part of the year's gone so quickly already. But for the sort of last part of the year, I'd say my sort of biggest project at the moment is our new build panel. So I think new build is definitely an area that it needs a bit of sort of time and focus on. So that's something that I'm really keen to do. So yeah, we're looking to launch a new build panel and like a new build arm to the network, which will essentially be hand-picked brokers that we will support, give guidance, training to on the new build industry, new build lenders, building relationships with developers, and we will hopefully equip those brokers, so they can go out, build relationships with developers, gain those contracts, and just sort of get our foot in the door into the new build world.
So exciting. Obviously, we've never done anything like that before. So really exciting that you're bringing that into things this year. And then so you've been working really hard on it as well. Like, for all of you advisors to know, it's not just going to be new build, here's some help. It's Robyn is fully gone away, but speaking to developers as well. So really exciting.
Yeah, it is. And I think, like, we just want to be able to, for any of our brokers that do want to get into it, we want to be able to support them. And, I suppose as a network, pull together like our resources and our contacts and their knowledge, and just have like a really, united team of new build brokers that can help each other out. And we don't want to be the biggest. We're certainly not going to be a new build specialist network. That's not what our only focus is going to be. But I definitely think it's an area that has got a lot of growth, with all the
help
plans.
Advisors be specialists, and that's the thing,
exactly. And I think the government's got a lot of plans with new builds. So yeah, that's probably my biggest and exciting project.
When could we see that potentially coming out?
Hopefully September, all going well. So yeah, hopefully September is when we'll be able to talk a little bit more about it and launch it. But if anyone has got obviously any questions about it in the meantime, obviously just let me know. But yeah, September's when it should be officially
and that's going to start as like an invite only thing to start with, isn't it? And that's not to not give everybody the opportunity. It's because it is something so robust that you've been really working on, that we're trying to introduce it to the advisors who can move forward with it to begin with, and then we could maybe open it up to people, because these are actual developers you're speaking to. So
yeah, we don't want to have an advisor that's just gonna I suppose like dabble in it, or an advisor that perhaps hasn't got the time to do it because they're so busy with everything else. And we do want it to be advisors that are willing to put the work and the effort in and do the networking and try and really build those relationships with the developers. Obviously, as I said, we want to support and supply those resources. But yeah, it will probably to start with be invite only, but it's not a secret, and it's obviously something that is a good goal to to work towards. A bit like the buy-to-let accreditation, it's going to be that sort of thing where if it's not something that is sort of suitable for you this year, perhaps next year, it could be a good goal to set to help to be invited to it.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. Really looking forward to that coming off the ground. So yeah, that's this year then. So that's the big focus, what we've got going on. Obviously getting around to meeting all the advisors, talking to everybody there, getting the new build off the ground. So what about beyond that then? So what about some future ongoing development plans that we have for everybody? You've got particularly for everybody, like what would you love to be able to do for all our advisors?
Yeah, so I think one of the things at the moment is we're looking at doing like a product resource hub, which is just going to be, somewhere on our advisor site where I go away and find I'd say, sift through all of the lender resources, the guides, the brochures, the documentation, and just basically put on there the most useful ones, the ones that, are actually going to be beneficial to our brokers, so that they don't have to do it. It's all there for them. There'll be a bit on residential, a bit on buy-to-let, specialist lending, commercial, just so it might be, a guide to the Renters' Right Act, something like that, where it just simplifies it for you and it's there for you. So stuff like that, and again, mentioning the customer guide, I'd like to build up a library of customer-facing guides that you can use. I've done one on the remortgage process, one on the home buying process. I'd like to do one on buy-to-let, buying in personal names versus buying in an SPV. So things like that are, again, physical resources that you can share with customers, you can share with introducers, just to show that you're really trying to educate customers and share those resources. And I think just working with firms more closely, looking at lead generation, looking at how you can sort of squeeze a few more recommendations and referrals out of existing customers, and maybe not so much looking at what the new customer, looking at who you've already got and what can we be doing. Can we be doing some sort of campaigns to target first time buyers, and maybe target parents that have got adult children that are looking to buy, and just really working with firms individually to try and support them in that, and have sort of an ongoing plan of what we're going to do and how we're going to generate more leads, and just keep busy, but sort of keep busy with purchases as well.
And I think that's the thing as well, like Robyn is here for our advisors, so you're here to like make the most of it. If you've got an idea and you want somebody to bounce it off and kind of get more things off the ground, these are just the things that Robyn's seen. So if there's more that you've seen, and you obviously you're there, aren't you, open to everybody's suggestions with these sorts of things. There's so much that we can do and we'd love to do as well for our advisors. But some of the things as well that we've got going on just as a network, like obviously Acre's always ongoing development and stuff like that. Robyn's working really hard on those sorts of things with our systems team to make that the best it can be. We've got a lot coming out on later life lending as well. So there's obviously the new launch of the later life lending FCA paper that's come out this year. I think that's just going to be so much more normal mainstream mortgages. So the more we can do to support there and give people more information, like we want to be able to help everybody understand, like people are borrowing later into life. Like I think saw the first time buyer's gone up to 34. So 30-year mortgage, you're also you're straight away you're a later life lending customer. So it's just more that we can do there to help you there. Specialist lending areas like our second charges, bridging, commercial, there's such like we've obviously got the right packager now as well, we've got the right loan. Like these are areas that we're developing all the time because customers aren't vanilla, and that's the thing, isn't it? It's like if you can't do it yourself, we want to obviously be able to help you, like our advisors, in all different areas. So we're really trying to work harder and closer on that as well. And next year we've got a whole nother series of events. Obviously we've had them this year, but next year we're going to be changing things up a bit. So again, if you've got any feedback, what you want to see, what you want to be a part of, like please do reach out to us, because even though it's this time of year, we're planning next year, and that's what we've got to do. So it's all really exciting, lots of fun, I think exciting things coming up this year. So, and the recent podcast Amy and I did as well, like really going into it. So the more we can do for our advisors, then having like our product team like you, and it's so exciting to be able to do all of that for advisors. But so we're getting to about everything we've got time for today, because obviously we can both ramble on. Like obviously, if you haven't felt that, we are chatty girlies. So thank you very much for going through all those different points as well. And there's so much to come from your role as well. So, but just to conclude for today, I'm going to ask you some really super quick fire round questions, which I love that anyway. Quick answers.
I'll try and keep it quick.
Yeah. 1 or 2 word answers. So start with, what are you most excited to come?
Roadshows. Really excited for the roadshows. I'm going to the Midlands one, so I'm excited for those.
Yeah, and that's it. And being product people are at all of our roadshows, and they will be in September as well. So keep your eye out there. Also, okay, next one. Tell us what is one thing a lot of our advisors don't really know about you that you can share.
So, funny story. It's a personal one. So yeah, when I was an advisor, I had a mutual friend contact me and say, can you help me look at my mortgage options? Look at what I can borrow. This is not quick fire. Look at what I can borrow. Etc. And it was at a time when rates had like gone up to like 6-7%. It was like absolute chaos in the market, wasn't it? I remember thinking, God, he's got a 2.9% fixed rate for 5 years. Like that is amazing. That's like gold dust. That 2.9% rate is my rate now, because that person is now my husband. So he's obviously impressed by my advice. But so literally met my husband through the mortgage advisor, which was
so many
great.
opportunities.
Yeah, literally. I've got it, I've got everything to thank for it. So yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I feel like that just helps everybody know that so beyond when you're a mortgage broker, there's so much you can do, literally. So much you could get out of it. So finally, if our advisors can take away one message from this conversation, what would you like it to be?
I would say, just going back to the existing customers, I think, don't look at buying leads. Don't look at, sort of don't spend too much focus on, okay, what can I be doing now to get a whole new batch of people that have no idea who you are. I think really, go back over your existing customers, make use of the fact that you've done such a good job for those people in the past. When was last time you spoke to your top 100 clients, actually on the phone, not an email, not a
Yeah, like,
a
how are
text, like,
they?
when was the last time you actually contacted them, picked up the phone and just said, I know your mortgage rate isn't up, but how are things? Do you want to review anything? And, that then I think prompts the conversation of, oh, we've been looking to invest in buy to let, or oh, my son and daughter, they're both wanting to buy. And
Just keeping at the forefront.
yeah, I think just like, really making use of your existing customers, because I think, referrals from existing customers, I tend, I always used to find they're the best quality leads. So I think really sort of give them a little bit of TLC and just sort of maybe, put stuff in place that really just generates new leads, but from your existing customers.
That's
that
it.
can
Like,
vouch
we've
for
got the
you.
newsletter service.
Yeah,
Obviously, like, if
exactly.
it's something you haven't started doing that at all, the newsletter service is part of the network. Like,
Yeah,
you could literally start that to begin with, and even if it's different content every month, quarter,
yeah.
whatever it is, it's just a way of getting in front of advisors,
It's
in
reminding
front of
people that
customers.
you're there.
Yeah.
Like a customer, once they're done buying their first house, they're naturally not going to think of their mortgage broker every day because they've got their own lives. And I think it's just reminding people that you're there. It might be putting it on social media more, or whatever it might, the newsletter, stuff like that. It's just reminding people that you're there, so that as soon as someone mentions a mortgage, you're like the first person I think of, and they're like, yeah, so and so did my mortgage, so brilliant. Let me give you their number, and just really focusing on that, I'd say.
And like we do say as well, like, as much as all these different things with AIs or lenders get in touch with customers themselves, like, a lender will not be your relationship. So
No.
if you have a relationship with your customers and or if you don't have a relationship with their customers and they go to the lender directly, unfortunately you've only got yourself to blame, haven't you? Which is a shame. But like, keeping in touch with them, they will always come back to you because you're a person, aren't you? And it's so, like, obviously you're talking from experience of people you spoke to, different advisors you speak to. The most successful advisors are ones who've got reoccurring business all the time,
It's
because they are known. Yeah.
Seen people have children, then end up doing, some of our advisors have done it that long that they have, done people's mortgages, then they've had children, they've then done their children's mortgages. And it's like, stuff like that is,
You're the family broker.
AI will never do that.
No.
A lender can never do, it's that relationship, isn't it? And that sort of, personal feel.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you very much for all of that.
Thank
you very much for joining me today.
Thank
You for sharing everything about yourself as well. Loved having you on here too. Hopefully we get to hear more of you on the podcast as well as the year goes on. But also, thank you to all of our listeners, as always, as well. If you're an advisor and you'd like to connect, discuss your business goals, or find out upcoming incentives that are coming up, where can everybody find you, Robyn?
So you can find me, obviously, all my details on the advisor site. My email's on there. I've got a direct line as well. LinkedIn as well, I'm on there. So yeah, if you need
Facebook
me.
groups as well.
Facebook groups, of course.
Please
Facebook
get
forum.
involved.
We've got a Facebook forum for our members. I'm on there. So yeah, there's quite a few ways to contact me.
Yeah, definitely. So please do reach out. Please reach out to any of the product team. We're all here for you as well. Like I say, lots of these things that we've got to come. These podcasts as well. If there's more you want to hear from there, please do let us know. As always, we love your feedback as well. But yeah, so thank you very much, Robyn. And I've been your host for today, Victoria Clark, Head of Lending at the Network. And this is the Opportunities Podcast. Thank you very much for listening.